Welcome, everybody. This is the Waves of Profit online trading YouTube show. Normally, we have a whole totally different. We talk about reviews of the day and the trading and everything else. This one is a little bit different because we've been working on something we call trigger happy trading, and it's for those traders that are a little more impatient than the average trader and want to do things a little bit faster without causing grievous harm to their bank accounts. So www.wavesofprofit.com if you want to know more. We've got a bunch of courses on Udemy that'll help you out. Look in the descriptions. Bottom right hand corner, you see that little subscribe button. You don't want to miss it. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you click the thumbs up, and we'd really appreciate also some comments. It's supportive of us as we like to be supportive of you. So I'm Scott, he's Alan. We have a special guest, Stephen, on with us today. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you, Scott.
I got paid today. I'm great.
I would love having you, Stephen, in the Facebook group. Just it's so motivating, your little posts. Here, my daily paycheck.
Yep. Sorry I haven't been there in a while. Been actually kind of busy to be posting, but I'll get back in there.
Awesome. So, Alan, let's talk about trigger happy trading.
Okay, well, the biggest problems that we see are people don't follow rules. And you go, well, why wouldn't you? Well, they follow it for a while, but it doesn't fit their personality, and so then they drift away from it. And either they want more money, which is easy, you just put more contracts in, as a few of the people have been doing. And so but it doesn't suit their personality because it's like, man, it's too slow or it's too fast. We had a fellow that discovered, and I'm glad he did, that day trading was too fast for him. So it's like, well, then don't do that. If it doesn't work for you, just don't do it. But for most of the people that show up, they learn it, they stick with it, and then they find out what their preference is, and then they get good at it, and then they start really banking the money. So we're going to look at this trading style, which we're just calling trigger happy, meaning that some people don't want to hang around for the 10 minutes and the 10%. They want to get that done a little bit faster. So for example, I've got this day showing here. So these are all 1-minute candles, and they want to be done by 10 o'clock or so, which is a half hour. And you can do the 10% in 10 minutes inside of that, but sometimes people want to do 2 or 3 trades in that time period, where they're only in a trade for like 3 minutes or 2 minutes or something like that, or 5 minutes. And so what we did is we looked at what can we make as an indicator and a strategy that goes with it, so that you have a full set of rules that would say, yeah, this is a good trade or it's not a good trade. So we're going to actually review the new indicator that we added. It's not it isn't like a huge new thing that we're doing. It's just an improvement. So it's not difficult. So if you go to settings, I'm just going to give you everything here today, and you say, okay, great, what do I need? We want you to turn on the K-band outer line, just give it some color and some fat line. And then these ones are new, K-band slope 2 and 3. The one we really care about is 3. I made it this pink purpley kind of color, so made it super wide so that we can spot it easily. And the only other things that we've got is the K-band signal up and K-band signal down. Those are the only things we're using for almost this whole system. And there's a few rules, not that many. And what we're going to do is we're going to presume that you're going to look at the 60-minute chart. And if I just get rid of the K-band here and the time, for now, what we're looking at is we want to make sure that you are always using the 60 so that you're in this part of the 60 or you're in this part of the 60. So essentially, you're likely to be breaking out of a 7-day trading range. So like here, it broke up on this particular day and did well, and here it went down some. But that's the kind of thing we're looking for, is we're going to trade up when we're near the top, and we're going to trade down when we're near the bottom. So that's the first general contextual thing I want you to look at. So you know what to do for settings. Super easy. The other one that's here, this is the next contextual thing to look at, is this is an item called benchmark. If you go to open price and go in there, this is newer as well. There's the text, which is the word, and then there's a line. So I made it a fat line because it's important. What we've discovered, and we had something that worked before, but this is better, is that this the kind of trading we're looking for is we're using the investor's kind of mindset. So you're always trading away from this line. You never trade to it. You always trade away from it. So you go this way or this way. So we don't do this because it's a lower probability of success. So those are the context. So now we're going to talk about some examples here, and Steven's here, and we're going to go look at his trade. And he traded this particular stock. It wasn't on my normal list, but you can add it. The replay lets you do that. So we're adding it in here. And now we're going to go look at the time that he picked, and we're going to look at the trade in some detail. So remember the rules. We're going to presume that we're trading properly in the context of the 60-minute chart. So he's looking to go down here, and it's moving away from the benchmark at this point. I'm going to turn on the K-band. So here are the rules, and they're not complicated. They're actually quite simple. And I hope you can see that purple line is there. I'm going to get rid of the K.
Yep, I can see it on my little phone.
Yeah, there you go. So right here, you can see there's that purple line that I set that says this is a really good slope on this trade. So this trade's really moving. Now you look at this chart, there's hardly any information here, but that's why we use the computer, is it says, no, this is a really good slope for this stock at this time of day. So number one, we've got K-band tint. That's this box here. So that's number one. Number two, we've got the slope, the purple in this case. Now we've already fit our context rules that the benchmark, we're moving away from it, and the 60 is in agreement. We're near the bottom. So the final thing is that, and when we go back to the settings for a moment, we've got turned on, which we normally don't, is the K-band outer line. That's this thing. Now I'll make it orange. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but we're just going to make it some color that's different. So the third rule, and it's really quite simple, is that this price here, because that's the last price right now, is outside of this line. I know it doesn't look like much when you've only got 3 measly little candles, but we're going to look at another trade later. So here we are. This now is what I call the wake-up candle. This says, I'm ready to make a trade here if on the next candle I beat this low by 5 cents. Now 5 cents I use as a rule because we test everything. And that's actually why Steve's here as a guest, is he's been testing this system for the last 2.5 weeks with the rules that we're talking about. And they were tested before I gave them to him. But he's testing it with real money as a trader that likes to trade quicker than the 10% in 10 minutes. He's one of the reasons we wrote these rules. Like, he was making money, and then it was like he wanted to hit it harder, faster. Now, how do you do that? Well, he's now using this. So we're looking for 5 cents below here. So in this point, this candle here is, the low is 235.50. So if it gets to 235.45, that's the trigger. So that's the wake-up candle. I'm going to move forward 1 candle. I know in live you can do more things, but so this is definitely lower than the 50 cents, right? 235.50. It needed to be 5 cents below that. Well, it definitely did that. So we're going to say that we did a buy on that. So we're going to buy that put. And we would have actually bought it somewhere while this candle was forming. So it may not show us the best profits. Now, because it's quick trades, we're only looking for about a 10% gain. Depending on your options and whatnot, you may look at a 50 cents, which means $50 per contract, or even $1 per contract profit. So I'm just going to move forward here, yet another candle, and it looks like a little bit of a loss has happened here, 4%. And then it's looking like 5. I'm just going to move forward. Now this was maybe not the best trade, but you'll see some other trades that turned out really well very quickly. But you didn't lose money on this one. Actually, you got out of this in this candle here. Is that right, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah. So he walked away with some profit. I don't know what that was as a percentage.
It was a measly, well, I don't know the percentage, but it was a measly $353.
$353. Now I know
3 contracts.
Yeah, I know people that work all week at a minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting the work in, and this one took you longer than you had hoped for. Like you've done a lot of these trades. This was a bit longer than you expected.
I have actually, while we were chatting, pulled up my trade history, and I have a few really good examples. If you want to change your date, that would be great. The first one, I was in and out
Let's look at that Amazon, because you did an Amazon one today too, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Because while we're on this date, we'll just have a quick look at that so that people go, oh yeah, okay, I can see the rules. What time you got in at? I think you.
I got in at 6:55.
Okay, so that's.
And I was out at 7:15 or 7:13.
Okay, we're going to just hit the buy now. You actually got in a little later than the rules, which would put you in here, and that's okay.
Right.
We're just. And you got out at when?
7:13. Part of the reason that I got in later was I got out of my AGN trade, and then I started looking for another trade, and I, decided to find that. Right, took me a minute.
You made money on this one, I can tell, because obviously that one did it. But the ideal one was you would have been, so the wake up candle's this one, and then this candle here would be the trigger, and you're in. So you would have made money, and you could have probably gotten out automatically at the top of that thing and not have to hang around. And the reason he can hang around is because the filter is the 60-minute. That's what makes mediocre trades more likely to be in your favor.
Right. And the 5, I've been watching the 5-minute to confirm that it's still, everything's still kind of going according to the 60-minute.
Yes.
Right.
What's the other date that you had in mind?
Go to March 24th.
Okay.
It was a Tesla trade.
Okay.
And I was in and out in about a minute. It was a call. I got in at 6:30:47.
6:30:47 seconds. So somewhere in here, I'm just going to hit the buy now for simplicity. You might have been using a different time frame for candles, but you had the tint, you had all the stuff.
Right. And then, of course, that damn limit thing took me out right away at 6:31:45.
Yep.
There was so much more to that move that I could have had, but I made my buck, right? My limit set at $1, not 50 cents, and so.
That's $100 for people that don't know options.
Right. And then the next trade was on the 30th, March 30th, and it was an IBB.
Okay.
But this is a perfect picture of what I see on almost all my trades. The one that you just had, yeah.
Okay. And which stock was that again? IBB?
IBB.
And when did you get in?
I got 6:45:09.
6:45 and 9 seconds. Good. We can't do the 9 seconds, but yeah, you can see this is exactly the setup.
Right.
right? Just a quick review for those. This was the wake-up candle, and then this is the trigger right in here. So we're going to
Right.
say thank you so much and hit the buy button.
Yep.
And how long were you in for?
I got out at 6:49.21.
49. So just a few seconds after this. So somewhere in there. So yeah,
Yep.
you would have made your 10% or something like that.
Yep.
So these are the rules. You really got to hit the replay, and you did. And I know you have a lot of experience with the system already. And people that are impatient, there's no hope for you. There's
Well,
just nothing honest that's going to work.
yeah. Well, I rather not think of it as trigger happy trading, more so momentum trading.
Okay.
That's the way I like to think of it, because trigger happy can cost you money.
Yes.
But if we follow the rules, as I've been following for the last almost 3 weeks, I think this is the start of my 4th week actually. I have had 2 minor losses.
Out of how many trades?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
A
19,
lot of trades.
20,
Only had
21, 22,
bad
23,
ones.
23.
Yeah, so that's like a 91% success rate.
Yeah, so that's pretty good, I think.
That's awesome, considering the
Right?
kind of market we're in. I don't mean like this month, this week, but day trading is very tough to make money in. You have to have something that you can test and prove, and set a set of rules that work. And before you were using this, you were doing something else a little more experimental. And I think you were saying your results weren't nearly as good as this, percentage of trades wise.
Right, right. My percentage of trades was, maybe 60%.
Yeah,
It wasn't as good, no.
and it's a
But
huge difference, that extra 10, 20, 30% in your favor, because that's like 10% fewer failures and 10% more successes. So every time you put one onto the good side, you're taking one away from the bad side. It's a huge difference in income.
yes. Right now with that screen you got there is probably a really good time to recap all of the rules at one point, and maybe Scott would be so kind as to type them out and put them in the Facebook group as we go here. I have a whole list of them written out here. It's simple. You have your wake up candle,
Yep.
and then the trigger candle. As soon as you go 5 cents above the high of the wake up candle, and you have K-band tint. Your slope line in the middle of the 2 lines is gone solid from dots, and then that first candle closed outside the line,
Yep.
and
So
then the
here
only thing you got to
outside.
remember is the other rules, where your preset option should be at 50 cents profit taker,
Yep.
and that your maximum spread is 10% of the option price.
Yes. So what
And
that means
you've got,
let's say the option's worth $7, or it could be $3. I don't care. Or if it's SPY, sometimes it's $2. That means the spread between the bid and the ask should only be, in this case, 70 cents, right?
correct,
Or 20 cents, which of course in SPY is usually like 2 cents.
correct,
But beyond that, it's hard to make money.
yes. And you also want to make sure you're working with an open interest of minimum 500. And I like my delta to be minimum 50 cents on the dollar. And the other thing that I must concur with was, one of the other rules was that only playing with stocks that have above a $5 average move in a day. That when on slow days, that's important. But when you have momentum days, I've had some Netflix trades and some other trades that were below the $5 average daily move.
Yep.
But when the day is moving and there's lots of momentum, you can go into some of those other stocks because they're just going to continue to move anyways. But that $5 average, I think, is important.
And just for people that aren't quite as familiar, this is the actual range that the thing has traveled today, but this one here is the one Steve's talking about, which is the average daily range. So like Amazon lately has been $15 that it will travel between the high and the low of a day. And some of these other ones are like $2 and $3 and $4. And so there's some traders that we know in the group that they will not trade any of these $2, $3 stocks because it just doesn't move as well on some days, which is what Steve's saying right now.
Right. So keeping that window open, first thing I do in the morning is I open this window and I check and I sort by the closed open gap to see if there's any big retracements that are possible for the morning. Then I go over and I sort it by the average daily move. And so that I'm only looking at the stocks that are above at the beginning of the day to see if they're moving, right? And then if I don't see any Christmas trees lighting up on the left there with the EA and GT and so on, if nothing's really lighting up in that area, and there's other stuff down below that's lighting up, like Netflix or something else, or Facebook or whatever, and I've got nothing to look at, I'll start sorting it by the EA, the energy alert, and then I'll look at those other stocks and see if they can fit into the profile of that the rest of the rules. Because if it's above its last barrier and there's room to the left, some of those stocks can get $3 to $5 range. I'm only looking for 50 cents to be able to scoop, right? Yep. So, if there's a lot of energy in some of those other stocks, that's when I go past the $5 rule, because if the $5 rule on the stocks goes, because there's usually only 4 or 5 if you look in that corner. Amazon and PCLN and Tesla, etc. And if there's nothing happening in those ones, you may as well go look at something that is happening, right?
So you got your favorite fishing hole.
Yep.
Which would be these guys, these top bunch.
Yep.
And then if there's nothing, no fish are biting in that pool, then you start looking at this other pool, sorting by EA and saying, hey, who's jumping here?
Right.
Got it.
And because if there's enough EA, then they'll play outside those lines just like anybody else, right? As long as you got your other rules cave in, right? There's a prime good example right there.
Yep. And so this one stayed outside the G band, and you could just ride that baby all the way until it crawls back in. Now, you see, that's a different thinking than what we're doing here. I just moved forward a little bit.
But if you go back to the beginning of that move,
yes,
right, and you take that first candle out there, right? Whoops, yeah, okay, and I mean, go up 50 cents. Yeah. How many candles is that?
We'll find out here. So here's your wake up candle. There's the trigger. So if we just hit the buy button, and then we're going to go forward one. Well, that's got to be 50 cents easily, because you got in at using this candle.
Yep.
56.44. So we'll call it 56.50. Excuse me. You'd be out if you're using $1. You wanted 50 cents.
Right.
The delta is 50. So if you want to get 50 cents on the option, the stock has to go up $1.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In this case, you're almost out right there.
Yeah. and I've been having a lot of fun poking at Alan, going, my damn limit took me out again, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
And everybody's going, boo-hoo, you got paid lots of money in a short period of time.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so sad
yeah.
for you.
The stupid limit. Why did I put the limit in there? Because it continued to go and go and go and go and go. Oh, that's right. That's the greedy part of me, right?
Yes. Getting paid
Right.
is wonderful. And a lot of
Right.
people
So,
forget that while they're trading, and this is part of the balance, right? It's
right.
at first we just don't know what we're doing, then we know something, and we go, woohoo! I'm a ruler of the universe. I got this baby, and I'm going to now experiment. And then we go off track, lose some money, and then we come back on track where we're like, okay, if I just stay in between the, the the painted lines on
Yeah.
the road, I'll be out of the ditch.
Yeah. Well, I was really, and here's a prime example of that. I got really upset because Friday, I was just overtired. I was out late Wednesday night, out late Thursday night. Fridays aren't usually the greatest day. So I decided I was going to go back to bed. And
Good.
apparently Friday, everything moved big. Tesla moved $10, and I was sitting there whining and crying. And Susan says, "Yeah, you sent me all your posts. You made like a couple grand this week. I'm feeling so bad for you, right?" And um, but it's the limit. So now my plan is one more week of solid wins, and then I'm going to learn how to increase my lots so I can capitalize on getting good at getting in and out.
Yes. And I'm going to put a little plug in here because this is about success. Steve paid for the year up front after he'd seen the replay and conversations with us, and you go, well, that's kind of risky. No, it was an intelligent gamble. The thing is, yeah, you save money in the long run actually by paying for the year
Yeah,
up front.
$500.
Yeah, but the real truth is um, you're in and you didn't quit. And there was times where you could have quit where it's like this isn't working.
Yes,
And
yes,
the point is now it's like, well, look at you. You made 2 grand, and you know exactly how to ramp that up to be 10 grand, 20 grand in a week or 2 weeks. You've got everything you need to know.
yep.
And
And I've
whatever.
I've done the things that every other trader's done. I've lost mentally. I've beat myself up mentally. I've I've I was on a roll and I was a rock star, and then of course the heavens opened up and humbled me, and I lost half my account inside of a couple of weeks because I was thinking I was invincible, and I started not following every single rule that was in my rule for a trade, and bam, there's a piece of humble pie, and now this is back to the slow and steady, consistent, thing that like putting the ice cube in the sink every morning. Do the same thing. Do the same thing, right? And now the same thing, almost going into my fourth week. Looks like it's gonna continue.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us, and congratulations. And so for the people that are listening, I test everything. There's nothing goes out the door without it being thoroughly tested. Usually I do all the testing myself, but sometimes, and Steve was really great about this because it was good for him too, is he was testing this refinement to an existing strategy so that he could get in trades a little bit quicker, and even if they start to turn against, they didn't turn against too hard, and then they turned around and came right back without it being, a deep loss. And really, your trade history of 21 out of 23 are successful trades, and you've had 2 small losses. That's a huge testament to that it works because those are the
Yeah,
numbers. The numbers don't lie.
yeah, yeah.
And you get a bonus. I know some people that trade and suffer in their trading because they go, oh, I don't know, no, I don't want to push the button, no, then they jump out, and because they. But the bonus is that you can actually enjoy trading and making money, and
Yeah.
That's a really nice thing. And so one of the guys that's been with a good friend of mine for a long time, he started trading a few years ago using the system as it was then, which was not complete like it is now. And he can easily make 10 grand a week, no problem. But it's because he's got the experience and he loves it. He's looking for the day that he can quit his job when he's got huge bank.
Mm-hmm.
But enjoying it is as much fun and actually helps you be more successful, because when people start losing money, they don't think clearly. They see fear in every trade, and it's like that's not a way to live.
No.
So, Steve, thank you for being another great example of people that are successful with the system, and I really appreciate you taking your time to post on the Facebook page and to just share your successes here. And yeah, you're real. I didn't clone you and, and make you into a puppet.
Excellent. And yeah, watch for my post on Facebook. I'll get back there.
Okay, thanks, man. Take care.
Okay. Bye.